And we are live, and I am not set up correctly. Hold on, let me just change this, click this, change that, turn that off, click this button, and now we're ready to go. Man, it's been a week. It's been a long week. It's been a long couple of weeks, to be honest. Legion's Con and such. But it's good to be back. It's good to be back in the swing of things. It's good to be sort of home. Good to be, at my desk and able to do more of my work and play with more of my toys. Let's talk about toys, because that's what we do here. And I'm going to talk about Legion's Con. I'm going to talk about sort of my experience, I'm sort of finally decompressing sort of everything that happened at Legion's Con. I'm still opening packages. I'm still unpacking. When I get home from any trip, the first thing I do is unpack my suitcase. That's just how I am. So everything got unpacked, but that didn't mean that I got to open my toys. So I've slowly been sort of opening a couple things a day, and I've gotten most of my stuff opened now. I did have to open some things at Legion's Con as a result of having a lot of stuff. To be perfectly honest, too much stuff. So it was a blast. As I said, Legion's Con was a blast, but the week building up to it was very, very busy, very chaotic. The week since I've been back has been equally as chaotic. There's just a whole bunch of stuff going on, toy wise and sort of business wise, and so it's good to be here. It's good to just sort of be sitting with nothing that I need to do for the next hour or so, maybe 90 minutes. We'll see how this goes. But absolutely excited to be hanging out and talking toys with you guys. So let's get right into it, shall we? Before I do, though, I'm just going to say hello to a couple people in the chat here. Josh Brown says, I missed Legion's Con. Let's run it back. Minus the crud. I don't get the crud. I don't know. I mean, I maybe I live an unhealthy enough lifestyle that a convention is not that far off from my day-to-day. Maybe I have the same level of anxiety and the same level of poor nutrition that it doesn't really affect me. But I got home, felt fine. Went to work. Well, actually, I didn't go to work the next day. I got home and my kids were all sick, so I had to stay home and take care of kids on Tuesday. But I was fine. Went back to work Wednesday. So JMax77 says, was such an amazing time. Best con of the year, hands down. All cons are different, but I think that Legion's Con is unique in how much fun the weekend is outside of the con floor. I've said this before, that you know, there's toy conventions that are a ton of fun because there's lots of great vendors and there's lots of great stuff on the floor. But Legion's Con is different in the sense that I am typically more excited for Legion's Con to meet up with people and to hang out with friends and collectors that I know. So I tend to sleep less at Legion's Con than I do at some of the other cons because I'm trying to like maximize my time, maximize my very sort of small amount of time that I have beyond, you know, being a vendor to hang out and socialize. So Legion's Con is definitely the best con for socializing and hanging out with cool collectors. I will give it that without a doubt. Christopher Bouchard is here. Josh Brown says, peep them D Blake signs. Absolutely. Where are they? They're over here. I got a new G.I. Joe sign. I got a new Animal Warriors of the Kingdom sign. I got a Cobra one, but I can't figure out how to put it up. And then I got Dragon Ball one too, which is higher up. You can't see it. They are awesome. I love them. I think I'm gonna get some like double-sided tape and sort of tape everything on the edge of the shelf. But yeah, they're super, super cool. Very, very generous of D Blake Makes to give me a few really, really cool signs. Last year we didn't connect. I meant to pick up some signs from him, and it sort of didn't work out. And then this year, it still kind of didn't work out because we still didn't connect properly. But he just left them at the booth, and I was like, "What's this bag with, you know, the cat face icon on here?" And everybody was like, "Oh yeah, D Blake dropped that off." This cat face, for anybody that put it up on the screen there. For anybody that was curious what I'm talking about, cat face. He drew the cat on the bag, so I knew it was for me. I just didn't know where it had come from. So, Red 5 says, catch you on the replay. Absolutely. Thank you for stopping in and saying hello. Anyway, date night with the wife. Nice. No Ewok allowed. Man, that's a bummer. JMac77 says it's a process reacclimating to real life. I suppose it's for me. It's chaotic for me. That any convention weekend is like a whole lot of running around. So it's my real life is in many ways like calmer than con life. So let's hear all the fun con stories. Good to have you, John. Christopher Bouchard says just bought the Ewok Hakin figure and can't presumably wait to get him in hand. Yeah, he is a fantastic figure. Hakin, I think Hakin's probably my favorite of that wave, but more on that when we get there. I didn't really think of a format, but now I'm kind of thinking, okay, maybe I'll just go through my whole weekend. Should I start at the beginning and work my way through? That seems like it makes the most sense. What I will actually very briefly share, I want to share this because this was, well, I guess it's the beginning of my weekend, so it actually sort of does make sense. So I left Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada, which is west coast of Canada, Thursday night. Caught a red-eye flight from Kelowna to Toronto, Ontario. I arrived in Toronto at like 6 in the morning, I think, 6 a.m. Eastern time. Had an hour and a half, 2-hour layover. Then caught my flight to Newark. Got my rental car, drove to the venue, got all my bags out, got everything settled in, got checked in. And the cool thing about conventions, if you're a vendor, I think it's true anyway. I think you could do this anyway, but you can just have, like, we have our product shipped to the hotel ahead of us, so we don't have to bring it with us. It's sort of there. We had a whole pallet waiting for us when we got there. Not only did we have a pallet waiting for us when we got there, but I had 3 boxes personally shipped there of my stuff. So I actually had a box of Space Zombies from Mars decals and t-shirts. I had a box, I had a pile of loot from Big Bad Toy Store shipped to me, and I also had a box. So this is weird. I had a box shipped to me from Creative Beast Studio, even though Creative Beast Studio was there, and I could have just, I could have just picked it up from their booth, but I don't know why they delivered it to the hotel as a separate box. But regardless, I picked up some stuff. Or there was some stuff for me to pick up when I got there. And that is that this is my haul. This is my haul on Friday. So this is before the con even started. I got some Plunderling stuff from Josh Brown. I got a bunch of Pile of Loot stuff from Big Bad Toy Store. I got my Beasts of the Mesozoic as well as Beasts of the Cenozoic in the case of the Smilodon. And Joe Gonzalez hooked me up with a custom Swig figure, I suppose. But he painted up a Fuzzmonk in Swig colors, which I absolutely love. And shout out to Joe for doing that. He didn't have to do that, but and he didn't want anything for it, so I still owe Joe for that custom. But super cool of Joe, and it's it's front and center on my Goblin shelf now. It bumped Swig back, so that's sort of my new Swig. And then if you don't know, Four Horsemen is doing a tabletop role-playing game, a TTRPG. Tabletop role-playing, TTRPG, based on Mythos, and they were handing out dice, D20s, which I was lucky enough to get one of, which is very cool. I actually used this when I played Dungeons and Dragons yesterday, so very cool. And as I said, this is what was there already when I got there on Friday. So I felt like I had a pretty humble haul for the whole weekend, but cumulatively between this stuff that I bought and on and on, it was my full-size suitcase was absolutely full, and I did have to unpack most of this stuff. I think in box, I think the 2 Operation Monster Force figures were the only figures that made it back to my house in the packaging. All the rest of this packaging is somewhere at a New Jersey recycling depot right now. I should have taken a picture of all the cardboard and plastic that I had to tidy up. I felt so bad for the cleaning service at the hotel, because they probably just scratched their heads like, what is going on here? You see in the hallway, the morning that everybody's leaving, just bags and bags of cardboard and plastic, and it's pretty wild. It's pretty crazy, but that was my haul. For Friday, that was pre-setup, pre-con haul, which is pretty cool. Let's see. John says pre-con haul. Yeah, and then I added to that. I was foolish and added more of that stuff. Let's see. Brian Brink. Yeah, I met Brian Brink this weekend. I met Solo Sinner this weekend. And meeting people in person is always so cool. You chat with people and you interact with them in these capacities, these sort of impersonal internet capacities, and then when you get to meet them in person, it's totally different. It's really cool. Let's see. Yeah, Josh says I'm better now. Negative COVID, so that's good. Apparently a lot of people got COVID again, which is pretty weird. J-Max says dude goes to Legions Con and doesn't buy Legions. Inconceivable. I did buy Legions. This was my pre-Legions. This is my pre-Legions Con haul. So that's this isn't my whole haul by any stretch. And on my Instagram, I've been posting it kind of by brand. So I actually posted my my Legions stuff first. Actually, hold on. I can pull that up too. I can show you that. So that here we go. We'll share this instead. We will add this to stage. So that's actually my Legions, my Mythic Legions haul. I got the 2-pack. I got 2 of the Armory figures. I got Krampus. I didn't include it in this because technically it's not part of my haul, but for my 9-year-old snake loving daughter, I did buy the Snake Man as well, which is a very very cool figure, but not necessarily one that I needed for my personal collection. She was really excited to get it, because she's, as I said, she loves exclusive things, which is terrible news for me. But she also loves snakes. So, but I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself here. So let me pull this back down. So that was Friday afternoon. So I got to the hotel, got all this stuff, started unpacking. We're hanging out, got some dinner. The funny thing about Legion's Con is that there's a great little Irish pub right in the lobby, the Old Shebeen. And I ate over like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I think I had 5 meals there over 3 days. So that's like the go-to, for meals. I think I ate there twice on Friday, so I had lunch and dinner at the pub, and then I had dinner 2 other nights, and I think we had a snack there. I can't even remember. That's all a blur. Um, but then Friday we set up. So the GCon thing happens, and then once GCon is done, you basically, they open up the vendors area. They open up the room there, and we set up the Spiro table. This is Friday evening, so the table's not 100% dialed at this point. I think there was still some stuff that ended up on this table after the fact. A couple things got moved as well, but so we got these cool new tables. It was hard to take a picture because it was pretty dimly lit in there, and the tables are lit, so it you can't see what's on the table. So I'll have to basically just describe it to you. So we had all of the AWOC figures on this table. So waves 1 through 4 were out displayed here. More about wave 4 in a moment. This is sort of the little pay station. Another D Blake makes sign right there. Wave 5 prototypes on the top there. Some of the Kickstarter Series 2 prototypes right there. And the Bushido stuff. Space Zombies from Mars, and then some custom stuff, and then we had more product over at this end. These great banners. These are two-sided, so they tuck us in the back, and what we learned is that nobody could see our booth last year from the back. So these banners are all double-sided. So there's a full graphic on the back of each one of these too. So we're pretty visible. You come through the main entrance, which is sort of way back over here. And sort of walk all the way, through the floor to get to us. We're just facing a wall. We weren't, in an aisle. We were just facing a wall at the back, which is not the best place in the world to be, but we've been there a couple years now, and we're sort of we're used to it. We're making good use of that space regardless. So, let's see. Let me jump in the chat here. Brick says that he only bought one more figure than I did. And Brick didn't try the pub at all. Walked to the nearby Indian spot and door dashed pho. We should have done that. You kind of end up, but it's so convenient, right? Like it's right there. You just walk up. We got a group, so typically what we would do is have like one person go and put a name in, and they'd be like, "Oh, it's going to be 40 minutes," and we'd be like, "Great, that's fine." Go upstairs, kind of unload some stuff, maybe change, grab a can, whatever. That was me, not anybody else. But come back down, and it's usually like ready to go. So it was pretty awesome. Josh Brown says your table setup is fantastic. It is, and it's getting better. The table just keeps getting better. We keep getting more product. We keep getting more used to how to do it. In the past, we used to put all the product on the table, so all this stuff was displayed. So we figured out you can display it really well like this, and then all the product is actually like behind here, against the like sitting against the banners, and we've got it organized like wave 1 is boxed over here all the way through to wave 4, sort of at this end. So, we're gonna have to get better at that too as we get more waves. But for now, it works. we're gonna have to get a little bit more particular about what we bring to cons going forward, because we've got so many SKUs now, that it's getting very, very crowded behind the table there. JMX77 says they actually ran out of food Saturday night, as middle-aged toy collectors are not to be underestimated. Yikes. I think we ate pretty early most nights, so it wasn't really an issue for us, but Josh Brown says, I did not know this. They hadn't mentioned this to us, or at least not to me. Josh Brown says the double-sided part did confuse a couple people from the other side because they walked up to the vendor behind you. I didn't know that. I wasn't aware of that. They were great. That was Kingpin Customs was right behind us, but then there's a couple. They kind of share. There's 2 or 3 creators that share a booth for their custom stuff, and Kingpin was like Kingpin was right here, right on the end, and he had a banner too that ended up going up. So that's funny. I had not heard that, but that's interesting. And NYC Figure Fanatics that says it even confused me. Oh man, I had no idea. That's funny though. NYC Figure Fanatics says it was awesome to meet and talk to you guys in person. We are always excited to talk toys with people, and it's funny because we end up a lot of times talking about toys that aren't even our toys. You know, we're talking about Legions with other people and stuff like that. So it's just a really, really fun time to hang out. So Brick said, I love the lit up tables. Next time, overhead lights or portable lights facing the toys. Absolutely. And we did have them before we got these new tables. The new tables, though, are a little bit different because the sort of lit up part is through fabric, and there's nowhere to like clamp the lights on, which is how we did it before. So as I said, you know, the table just keeps evolving and improving, and you know, so you know, it gets better. We get better. We grow, and we adapt, and we evolve. So Nolan says, I prefer to pick up figures at shows. Might grab myself a Hyena Boy next time I see you guys. Absolutely. Nolan, I was super bummed you weren't there, but I know you were there in spirit. So good to have you in the chat today. So sorry to Leland and company for confusing folks. NYC Figure Fanatics is so hyped for Zombies from Space. Absolutely. Me too. We'll talk about that in a minute. Burke said, Nolan, tell Adam you were there and we sold out. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Nolan, let me know what you need. We'll get you sorted out. Brian Brink says, I was bummed that I missed out on the AWOC figures that arrived Sunday, but Jason hooked me up with free shipping from the site. Jason didn't do anything. That was me. They came Wednesday. Oh, they come Wednesday. Okay, cool. Excited to get them. I'm excited for you to get them as well. The sign actually did help, as I would tell people to look for the AWOC sign. Absolutely. That's yes. Brick says, I feel like we could think about levels too. I got an idea for cheap portable bar lights that work perfect. I'll tell Jason and Derek. Yeah, absolutely. I think we're going to have to, I think the table's going to have to evolve in a couple of ways. I think we need more lighting on the table facing the figures. I also think we're going to need like small shelves for the product, because right now we just have like boxes stacked on boxes, and it's hard to find stuff sometimes. So like I said, you know, we're just gonna have to, we just keep getting better, and we just keep you know, making this table cooler. 2 years ago, you know, there was no banners. 2 years ago, the table was just a standard table, and it just had like a black table runner on it. So you know, this is pretty cool. You know, it's a subtle feature, but like if you notice that there's sort of a design in the fabric, that design is the same design that we use for like our promotional images and stuff like that for the backgrounds. So, you know, it's kind of that full branding that we're sort of working towards. So anyway, just very, very cool. That part was super, super fun. Here, let me switch to this. The one thing that I screwed up, and I am taking full responsibility for this, because quite frankly, I should have caught it. I should have realized I have been dealing with Fulfill Right, which is the new fulfillment company that we have been dealing with. All of our Wave 4 products shipped to Fulfill Right. None of it was in Louisiana. Now, typically when we do shows, they pull inventory from Louisiana, and that's what we sell at conventions. Because they didn't have any Wave 4, they couldn't bring any. I I didn't put two and two together and realize that I was going to need to ship some product from Wave 4 to the convention. So we didn't have any of Wave 4 on Saturday. Saturday night, Jason and I drove about 3 hours round trip down to South Jersey to the warehouse on like an emergency supply run, and we did get some Wave 4 product, but it still wasn't enough. It still wasn't enough. We still sold through all of our hyenas. We still sold through all of our jaguars. I think we sold all of our pails, and all we had left was like a handful of Atreyus. So Wave 4, was effectively gone by like 10 a.m. on Sunday. Two of the three figures were gone at 8:30, or two of the four figures were gone at like 8:30. Pail went by 10, give or take. And then I think at the end of the show, like we literally had like 4 or 5 Atreyus left. So good thing we went and got them. But we blew it, and it didn't have them at the show in time, and didn't have enough of them. So we were offering free shipping to anybody that was at Legion's Con that didn't manage to get Wave 4 figures. Just as a sort of an apology, and as a thank you for the support, and for not being mad at us. Which, I think I thought was a pretty fair compromise. So anyway, also at the table we had the Bushido stuff. The Bushido stuff is what can I say? It's very different from Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. It is it's a total departure. It was really crazy when people were like, "Yeah, the animal line is great, not my thing, but I'm all in on this." And it was like, that's awesome. I mean, that's the goal, right? That's the intention, is to have another line that is going to appeal to other customers. The first wave is, of course, 3 figures. 2 of them we had paint masters for at the show. So we had this guy, and this guy is the samurai. He's technically the army builder of the wave. So there's multiple different head sculpts there, plenty of accessories, extra hands, stuff like that. Very, very excited for the Bushido stuff. Then we had the bounty hunter, not Zoro, but let's be honest, there's a whole lot of Zoro in this. Full disclosure, Dan absolutely loves One Piece, and Zoro's his favorite character, so that's largely where the inspiration for this character comes from. And he's not really trying to hide it. If he was, he'd be doing a very poor job. But let's see. Brian says you could get a projector to show your logo on the wall too. That we could, but I mean, we have to ship all this stuff, right? So there is always a question of like, how much is too much in terms of what do you need to sort of get to and from the show. So as it stands now, like we're already like a full pallet of stuff, including product, mind you. But when we've sort of packed everything up and shipped it back, it's still half a pallet, even though all the product's gone. So the booth setup, the table setup's about a half a pallet worth of stuff, or sorry, like a full pallet half height. So 3 feet, 4 feet, give or take, of stuff on a pallet with no product. Chris Bouchard, do you collect Manglores? No, I do not. Scott Baker, still need to get with you about shipping mine. Scott, send an email. Hurry up, man. Brick says, heart sank when I heard about the lack of Wave 4 on Friday afternoon. Shit happens. Live and learn, and glad we found a way to get it to people who wanted it. Yeah, absolutely. Wave 4 has been moving very well. So very, very happy with that. Collection Brothers says, I am so here for Bushido. So am I. And I've been talking to Dan about the Oni, and there's, I'm glad that we didn't reveal anything, because there's a bit of like, potentially there's a bit of the Oni that he was gonna do for Wave 1 might get bumped to Wave 2, and then we're gonna bump the Wave 2 Oni to Wave 1, which I think makes more sense when it gets revealed and when you guys all see it. And I'll sort of explain the whole process, and we'll we'll have way more details. But needless to say, it's gonna be awesome. As I said, 3 figures, so it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. Brick Something says, future exclusive 2-pack A-Walk versus Bushido, classic fighting game style packaging with variants. Putting my money on the game cabinet, putting my quarter on the game cabinet now. That's a really good idea. That would be really, really cool. You could even package them like the what is it? The Street Fighter versus Ninja Turtles, where they kind of package them where they're like facing each other a little bit, so it's almost like they're fighting. Yeah, that would be cool. That would actually be really cool. And it could be like a con exclusive. Yeah, yeah, I like that. I like that. Other than the Bushido on the table, we also had the Space Zombies from Mars. These are the latest pictures. So these, I don't know that I've shown these pictures before. So this is, of course, the Kickstarter launch stuff. So this is the Kickstarter launch astronaut in green, and then the Kickstarter launch zombie. You will see that there are things shaded out here. So stretch goals for the Kickstarter will include additional pack-ins. So basically, if we hit enough funding, all of these shadowed things will become visible, like the rest of these things are. And what is shadowed is, in my opinion, very, very cool. And then the zombie gets a couple spare heads here as well if we get the unlocks. So that's Space Zombies from Mars. We had those on the table. Interest in those was very, very high as well, which I was very, very proud of, very pleased with. And a couple pretty notable people were pretty interested in it, and that was reassuring. But yeah, very, very excited about this, and we're going to be releasing more information on this soon as we get closer to the launch date. The Kickstarter will be launching March 1st, 2025. And currently, pending sort of finalizing all the numbers, currently we're looking at $40 for the astronaut, which is sort of a deluxe pack-in with all that stuff, and then $25 for the zombies. So $65 gets you sort of 2 figures. And then we're gonna have different colorways for the astronaut, and then we're gonna have zombies that match. So as I said, more on that at a future date. And I'll probably at some point do a full show on the Kickstarter before the Kickstarter launches. Our big goal with this Kickstarter is really to have all the information out there before the Kickstarter launches, so that when the Kickstarter launches, there's really no confusion. People will know exactly what they're looking at, what they're looking for, what the timeline potentially is going to be, what the pricing is going to be, and so on and so forth. Because the last thing that we want is to be trying to explain certain details during the Kickstarter when we can't change them anymore. So we're going to try to reveal as much information as we can, just to make sure that we haven't missed anything. And that way the questions can kind of come up earlier rather than later, which is super beneficial to us, because it means that we don't have to scramble to sort of find answers for things that people kind of think about. So because maybe we won't, because you're always gonna forget some detail or whatever. So Christopher Bouchard says they look awesome. Scott Baker says these guys look great. Josh Baker says I'm pretty notable. Yes. Brian Brink says excited for these space dudes. Brian Brink, I'm excited for the chart. We'll talk about that. I'll get you all the information ahead of time. You don't have to do chart if you don't want to. We're kind of small peanuts compared to some of the other guys. But Josh Brown says February, March, back to back with Odious and Zombies for Mars. The Dragon's gonna hit you in January too. So there's really not there's not really gonna be a moment in in the next little while where there isn't gonna be some pretty major stuff going on. Let me see here. Let me see. Speaking of the Dragon, I got more stuff I could show you for Zombies, but I'll hold that off till the end. So Friday night, I'm way off. My schedule is all over the place. I'm just yapping at this point. I'm just ranting. Let's look at this. You guys seen this? You guys seen this dragon? Four Horsemen are doing like the most massive dragon. This was actually, so I was running around doing other stuff. This is before they put the glass up, so I was able to get sort of a nice shot without glare. And then there's the dragon from another angle. They're literally setting it up. So these fine folks, these two, and then there was a third. I think Joe Vasapolo was in and around here too. That might be his hand holding the glass. So I was kind of like sneaking in a little bit closer with my crappy iPhone to get pictures. Yeah, there you go. This thing is phenomenal. This thing is wild. I'm pretty sure I've said I'm not really that interested in a Mythic Legions dragon. I'm pretty interested in this dragon. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sort of pretend that I'm not interested, because it is absolutely phenomenal. I have other pictures that I wanted to share of the Butter Dragon. So they actually had a check model of the dragon. So this is like a not fully articulated, but like pretty well engineered version of the dragon. And they had this on the table. That's the head. That's one of the spare hands that you get in the accessory set. And I walked up just to snap a quick shot, and Tanya from Legion's Ladies was like, "You can pick it up and touch it." And I was like, "Are you trying to trick me? Are you trying to trap me?" And she was like, "No, you go ahead." And I was like, I didn't hear any of the Four Horsemen say it. So I was like, I don't know about this. I said, you pick it up and hand it to me. And then if you don't get in trouble, then, that's cool. So I actually got to like handle the dragon. Obviously it's an unpainted butter version of the dragon, but it's substantial. It is really, really cool. And it's as impressive as I thought it was going to be. My real concern is the price. I'll be perfectly honest. I have a number in my head, and if it's below the number in my head, then I will very seriously consider it. If it's above the number in my head, I literally don't have space for it. So if it's above the number in my head, it's sort of like, do I want to pay to store this thing? Because I don't know where I would even put it. Between all the G.I. Joe HasLab things that are going to fly that have to hang from my ceiling, I won't even have room on my ceiling to hang the dragon. So Brian Brink, awesome. He says, I'll chart it for you, no problem. Josh Brown says, at least the Horsemen opened up shop pay in installments. Yes, they did. I think that's US customers only, though, so it's not really relevant for me, but still. Collecting Brother says, love the look of the astronauts and zombies are a great green. Absolutely. Just wait. There's more zombies. There is a zombie that is not quite green. More on that, when we get closer to the day. Josh says, don't lie to yourself. You're getting that dragon. I'm not lying to you guys that I want the dragon. It might not be feasible It might not make any financial sense. It does not make space sense. So Brick says, awesome. You got to see the butter dragon. Had no idea it was shown until the flight home. I thought I told you guys. I thought like I said, I ran. So I had to run up to the room to grab something. I ran up to the room, past the butter dragon while Eric and Jeremy were talking about it. But I was on a mission and I was working, so I had to go up and grab that stuff from the room, came back down, like I said, snuck in with the phone and just sort of try to get a quick snap. That's these two pictures right here. Got to handle it for like 2 minutes, then like ran back in, and I'm 99% sure I said they have a check model of the dragon out there. You might not have been at the table at that very moment, so that might be why you didn't know that I had seen it. And Brick says, yeah, I don't think I was at the table when you told us. I was seeing my brother up to the airport and getting ready myself. Was it on Sunday? I thought it was on Saturday for some reason. I don't know. It's all a blur. That could be very well. That could totally be true. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Christopher Bouchard says, I don't have the space for the dragon, sadly. Yeah, and that's, I mean, the thing is easily 4 feet long. If the tail and the head are like fully extended, it's like 6 feet long. It's like it is huge. It is huge. Nobody has space for this, but people are going to make space for it, I think. That says, woohoo, payment plans. And Collecting Brothers, John says, everybody gonna have to make room for this dragon. I think a lot of people are gonna make room for this dragon. I think it works for other lines too. Like it's just a big green dragon. I think, for any sword and sorcery, it makes sense. I've said this, and I'll say it here too, so that it's documented and people can sort of refer back to this video. If they do stretch goals, if they sort of set it up that way, if there's a stretch goal that is a saddle and a rider, I'm like 50% more inclined to buy this. Because the dragon itself is cool, but I kind of wanted somebody to ride the dragon. They haven't said anything about a rider, but that would sway my opinion of it even more. Like I said, I already want it, but I would want it even more if there was a rider and a saddle. That being said, I know that the Four Horsemen have a massive following of sort of creatives that will, somebody will make one. So worst case scenario, I'll just have to wait, for somebody to make a saddle for the dragon. But Brick says, I love the visual connection between this dragon and the dragon sire, like a Rakagor. If it's 450 or lower for the base dragon, I could be in. It has to be considerably lower than 450 for me to be in. But yeah, I agree. I mean, the fact that the dragons that already exist in Mythic Legions kind of look like this is good. I mean, I'm looking at a Rakagor, and I'm looking at this picture, and it's like, yeah, the design, there's so much similarity in the design, which I think is a smart move on their part. Josh Brown says, nothing we do makes financial sense. Well, you're not wrong. I say all the time, I don't need any of this stuff. I want all of this stuff. So I'm not going to sit here and say I need the dragon. But it really comes down to, do I want the dragon more than certain other things? I've said before, there's a couple vacations sort of lined up for my family in the future here. And the price of a dragon would go a long way towards that. So that's largely part of it too, is that some of the plans that the family has take precedence over dragons, believe it or not. Christopher Bouchard says, I see collectors selling a lot to get the dragon. Absolutely. I think you're totally right. Scott Baker says, it will probably be stored at my parents' house like half of my collection. Josh Brown says, customizers will make all sorts of saddles, attachments, heads, etc. Definitely. I think they definitely will. Brian Brink says, someone at the reveal asked if one of the stretch goals included marital counseling. Yeah, I mean, for a lot of people, my wife told me already, like, no to the dragon, but we'll see. She's come around on some other things before. So Josh Brown says vacations are temporary, dragons are forever. You're not wrong. You're not wrong, but I can always sort of come back around to the dragon if I need to. I'm sure people will have extras. So um the shop installment payments will be less than 450. Yes, they will. All right, that's the butter dragon. So that was, another crazy thing that I saw. They're doing the legacy collection where they're doing like version 2s. Um what else? I don't know. It's crazy. Just crazy stuff going on. Um Let's look at some of the other stuff that I did pick up. So I was getting, teased for not buying any Mythic Legions, which is fair. I mean, I didn't buy that many Mythic Legions. As I said, I did pick this up for my daughter, who is a big Snake fan and, action figure lover. She does love action figures. She's got a bunch of Marvel Legends. She's got AWOC stuff. Plunderlings. This, I think, is her first Mythic Legion. I was very, very happy to get the 2-pack. Now, how am I going to hold this up so that I can hold both of them up at the same time? I got the Mythic Legions 2-pack. Love these figures. Definitely had to go cat version for this guy. He's got his tail on there as well. And then the martial arts monk. He looks more martial artsy without the top soft goods piece, so that's why he's like that. I haven't posed him up much. I'll be honest, like I haven't had time, so I haven't done a very good job of like posing these. I did pose this guy up a little bit, so I was quite surprised. I had no intention of buying anything at the Four Horsemen's like store in pop-up store kind of thing. But I also didn't anticipate that they were going to have the original version of Krampus, the Black Krampus. I have the red one and absolutely love it. But this guy really kind of pops more. He's more of the original color, like Krampus should be black like this. So I was very, very excited to pick that up. And then as I said, this is not Four Horsemen directly, but I did get this guy, which is absolutely fantastic, and I will probably show him on every video I do for the next little while. Joe Gonzalez painted this up for me, and it is beautiful. So for the 1,000 swigs, this was my submission. Joe made it, but I got to submit it. So this is a thistle swig or a swigglethorn. I'm not sure on the name. I think I'm actually gonna put that in a. I'm gonna put it in the Cabal, and I'm gonna put it to a poll, and whatever the Cabal thinks is a better name, I think is the name that I'm gonna settle on for that guy. So, and then the armory experience. Spoiler alert: I panicked and didn't get the figure that I kind of intended to get. And if you were watching Ostradamus Toys Clubhouse last night, you got a little bit of sort of background insight into my armory experience. It was so stressful for me, and I don't know why. It was like just it was just me in my head, just kind of like panicking because there was so much cool stuff. Ray Paz is here, says he's gonna have to be replay crew. That's cool, Ray. Good to have you. Ross is here as well. I started early, so you're not even late, Ross. Normally I start at 2 Pacific, and I started at 1. And Brick says, sad I didn't get to hold the Arctic Dragon. Yeah, I have held the Arctic Dragon. It's phenomenal. I kept meaning to get to the Creative Beast table for a longer amount of time, but their table was busy all the time, and I kind of couldn't get in there. No, Chewing is here as well. Good to have you. Christopher Bouchard, question: that X-Men Beast figure, what X-Men Beast figure is that behind you? That is the retro carded release. So the I don't know. So that's like the third release of that figure. I think they did the blue one, then they did the gray one, and then that's the second blue version of it. So Yeah. Okay. So the armory experience was it was good. They had all the stuff lined up. It was just in little baskets, and it had a little picture of what was in there. And the figures that I ended up with, I'm very, very happy with. Don't get me wrong. It was a fun experience, and it was a cool experience to sort of build your own knights. So I 100% knew that I wanted this build. So it's sort of a green Valiant Knight with the bucket head, and then the sort of leaf shaped or scale shaped armor, which I prefer more than the Valiant Knight piece. And so my intention was to get like a Vorgus Vermilius version 1 stand-in, because I love that figure so much. But I panicked, and I grabbed the wrong torso, and then when I was looking at the torso trying to match it, the Valiant Knight armor all just sort of ended up. So I literally got like two of the exact same figure, just in different colors. Which like I said, I'm not unhappy about. They look fantastic and I love them. But they were not what I intended to get. Like I said, I intended to get the where is it? Where is it here? I intended to get a figure that looked more like this figure, with the impure armor and sort of the heavier arms and the heavier legs and the bigger torso. I figured out what threw me off. When I was planning what I was going to get, these were the torsos that, I had to look at. And if you look at the red torsos, the the thicker red torso has the neck collar. Now, I grabbed the red torso with the neck collar, but it's not the same torso as they showed in the picture. So I now blame the Four Horsemen for my panic, because I meant to get this torso, but I got this torso, and in the green, I got this torso and it came with this, but the red torso came with it. I don't know. There was probably another option. I just didn't see it. I panicked. I grabbed the wrong one, and then I didn't know what to do. In hindsight, I shouldn't have grabbed that one anyway. In hindsight, I should have grabbed this one, because it's not offered, going forward. And it was just like there was so many options that it was like I panicked, and it was like that thing where, you know you when you have too many options, it's just that much harder to decide. So I knew what I was getting with my Green Knight, but then I was kind of waffling between a Red Knight and, more parts for like Zylona's Flock. So I could have gotten the green torso, I could have gotten the brown torso, and I freaked out, and it just didn't. My brain was fried at that point. I couldn't concentrate properly. So I just ended up. I ended up with what I ended up, and I'm not upset about it. I got cool stuff. And what they offered was really, really cool. I'm not complaining. I want to show this too, because I don't think I've seen anybody mention this. With the Armory experience, they did a really cool thing. They actually gave you packaging. So it was generic packaging. There's an insert with the collector friendly bubble card, and then a card back. It's a generic card back. It's the same card back as the Ninian infantry, or whatever the figure's called, whatever the Snake Man is called. And it even had, like a little insert card. So if you're not familiar with those two factions, those are sort of the two main original characters, Helene and the other one, I can't remember. And then, you still get sort of a mythos bio on the back. So they did a really, really good job. The whole experience was really, really cool. I panicked and cut the wrong parts, but the experience was really, really cool. And there it is, Helios and Selene. So yeah, the experience was great. The weekend as a whole, like the Four Horsemen, Legion's Con was great last year. This year, the experience from like Friday, G-Con on Friday, to the con on Saturday, to the Armory experience, to them having the check model of the dragon on Sunday, 1,000 swigs in a break off room, showing, doing actual gameplay of the tabletop RPG in a break off room. Like all of it added up to like an absolutely amazing weekend. Um, as a vendor, I would like, there's part of me as a vendor that wishes that I could experience it, just like a collector. Um, and maybe one day I'll sort of get to do that. We had intended to have like shifts. We had intended to sort of give everybody at the table time to just wander around and see the other tables. And I saw a little bit of it, but I didn't see much. Like I said, I didn't have time to check in as much as I would have wanted to. But life goes on, and there's always next year. So I'm 100% sort of in for going again next year, and can't wait for what the Horsemen are going to do next year. Josh Brown says I also panicked and missed out on all the leather parts. Yeah, I'm very happy with what I got, but yeah, and I could have gone back too. Like I could have just gotten another ticket and gone back, but in the moment, my brain wasn't working very well. No Chewing says I also went too late. I would have liked that light green parts. Yeah. Um, um, the armory experience is not built for those with high anxiety. No, it really isn't. And I didn't even know if I was going to get a chance to do it, let alone a chance to do it and then theoretically have the chance to do it sort of a second time. But regardless, it is what it is, and I'm hoping that they have it again next year, and I can learn learn from my mistakes. Um, um, Brick says, I think there's room for us to do a little collective game planning and check in each morning. Not to be that guy, but it'd be for the best. Absolutely, absolutely. It's more implementing the things that we say we're going to do, because that was, Jason and I talked about that on Friday. Having sort of a game plan, but then it all goes out the window anyway. Josh Brown says, as a first-time vendor, I was too nervous to leave the table. Damien kept telling me to leave, but I plan on doing better about that next year. Yeah, you really just have to do it. And what I mean by that is like I kept rushing away from the table to like go and grab one thing, or I'd run and grab lunch, and I would eat as fast as I could, and then I'd think, oh, I'll stop on my way back down, and um and take a look at a couple tables. But then I just feel guilty. Like that's just my personality, is that like when I wasn't at the table, even if I was like running to grab something from the room, I was literally like running to grab stuff if I needed to. Because I was there to do the table thing, right? So everything on top of that it feels like a bonus. So I'm certainly not, complaining that I didn't get more time. I would like more time, but I had an absolute blast. Just as Brick wants to have a stand-up meeting every day. Yeah, we should though. I mean, that's the thing. We should. Part of the problem, in my personal opinion, as a vendor, was that they changed the opening time to 8 a.m. and 8 a.m. is freaking early. I got there on Friday from the West Coast. So basically, I get in and I tried to get as much sleep as I could. I tried to be, good and go to bed relatively early Friday night. But 8 a.m. Saturday morning still felt like 5 o'clock in the morning for me. So it took me a minute to wake up on Saturday. And 8 a.m. was pushing it. I would have much rather it be 9 to 6 p.m. than 8 to 5 p.m. It was too early, but what can you do? Christopher Bouchard says, hope to see snakes in AWOC. Well, we have a snake head. So we're sort of there in a way. you know, our snake is about as snaky as the snake man. Um, and Brick says 8 a.m. is actually earlier than my school starts. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It felt too early. Um, and it was a little bit it was a bit awkward because last year it was 9. So that was the other thing, is like last year it was 9, and I don't think people were like 100% ready for an 8 a.m. start. Nor did they want an 8 a.m. start. But anyway, I did manage to see a couple tables. One that was really, really fun was the Plunderlings table. They pointed out that there was something on the table that was new and different. I took pictures of it and totally didn't realize what it was until, you know, after I got home and I was looking at my photos. What I sort of didn't notice when I looked at this guy just on the table is that he's got 4 arms. So this is a new plunderling that they said is not technically a plunderling. So this is a new kind of creature. That's a mask. Apparently there's a different head that's going to be under there. It's got 4 arms. It's got more paint apps because it's got green hands, but then purple arms, and there's sort of a transition with some like black spots. This thing looked fantastic. But as I said, you know, this is me like running back to our table. It's got a mount as well. The mount is going to be for sale from Plunderlings. So super, super excited about that. I want more Plunderlings. I bought a bunch of Plunderlings. I got from Josh Brown. Thank you, Josh Brown. I got the Cursed Idol. I got the blue, transparent, translucent exclusive from the Plunder Longs. I got the green translucent Plunder Strong. So very, very happy with my Plunderlings haul. I probably would have picked up a couple more if they had a couple more that I had wanted. Sorry, I'm going to sort of scroll through these. We had these on the table. They looked amazing. They would have looked better with better lighting. We had some zombie stuff. So there's the paint masters for the green astronaut as well as the green zombie. That was my haul. I already showed that. Armies of Ashmore. So Matt had his production figures there. He hasn't gotten full production, but he did get sent a couple cases or like one case or something from the factory. So these are the production figures. And got to play with those a little bit. I didn't have time to like really get too deep with them, but they look fantastic. Every time I see them, I forget how big and heavy they are. They're probably, you know, 8 inches tall. They probably weigh like 5 pounds a piece. They are big, chunky dinos. And I'm very, very excited for Ghost Milwick and all of these figures, but Ghost Milwick in particular. The Cyberzoic table, or sorry, the Creative Beast table, which to me is the Cyberzoic table, looked phenomenal. Their table always looks great. You know, they had their new art print, so they had the new cover from issue 1 of the comic book there. So I bought my art print. I had already got dinos delivered, so I had those, you know, ready to roll. I did pick up, you know, beyond what I sort of showed already. I did pick up the 3-pack of the baby Diabloceratops because they're just so adorable. But yeah, the table said explicitly do not touch. I did touch some things. Ross, don't tell Dave. But they had the Cyberzoic. Yeah, I think these were test shots, not final production, but looking really, really good. So that's the Allosaurus armor, both on the back of the Allosaurus, and then you can see it behind here transformed into its little vehicle mode. The figures looked phenomenal. The detail work was really, really good. Those stands look really, really cool, and they actually interlock. You can sort of like click them, not click them together, but they sort of, the little notches, the little tab on one side kind of slots in, so you can kind of get your shelf all dialed in nice and tidy. The Smilodon armor with Dragolina riding, and then this is the Aquilabator armor in the robot mode, and it looked phenomenal. I asked to play with that, and Ross said no, it would probably fall apart. So that thing's pretty complicated. So I think, you know, some of the final engineering isn't finished, and that's why it was not to be touched. But yeah, everything on their table looked good. I'll come back to that stuff. Yeah, everything on the Cyberzoic table looked fantastic. Create a peace table. I keep calling it the Cyberzoic table because that was kind of what I was most excited about. But let's see. 1-6 shooter. What's going on, Trevor? It was good to see you as well. Again, like I've said this a few times, like I really didn't have as much time this year to socialize. I think, I handed you something and kind of went on my way, and got a selfie with you like on Sunday afternoon. Like in my panic mode of like I got to get some pictures with some people and stuff like that, but I didn't get a chance to talk to Trev. I didn't get a chance to talk to Ross. I would have loved to like chat with Ross a little bit more. Um, and Ross says I missed all of this at the show. Apparently, I needed to walk around more too. It felt like this show was 2 hours longer than last time because they added an hour on at the beginning of each day. But it felt busier. I think there was more people. So it sort of felt like there was less downtime. I think there was more people, coming by the table over the course of the weekend. And so I felt like, most of the weekend I was at the table talking about the lines, talking about AWOC, talking about Bushido, talking about zombies. And that was great. I mean, that's the reason you're there as a vendor, 100%. That's why you're there. You're there to talk about the product, and sell the product, and to get people hyped on it, which I think we did. I think we did a really good job of that. But it sort of meant that I wasn't able to get away from the table. And from the sounds of other people that had tables, it's exactly the same for everyone. So that's good. I mean, hopefully the weekend sort of translated to a successful weekend in that respect for everybody. Endless Fables asks about the armies of Ashmore. Are they heavier than Thane? I think they are. I think they are actually. They're definitely taller than Thane, and they're probably about as thick. So yeah, I didn't weigh either. But if I had to guess, I'd say that they probably are. Ray Paz, did they have the comic available? They did not. The comic book, to the best of my knowledge, is not complete. That was just the art from the cover that they had in a print that you could buy. So I bought one of those prints because it looks phenomenal. I'm so excited about that comic and about that lore, and I just want to know more. This I also got, so I got some of them. I got some of them already on the shelf behind me. But D Blake Makes was very, very generous and actually gifted these to me. These are we'd kind of organized that I was going to pick these up last year, and as I said, it sort of didn't happen. But he was kind enough to just leave them at the table for me. So shout out to D Blake Makes for his signs. If you don't have any of those signs, you should treat yourself and go and get some. I think he's setting up an Etsy store, or a proper storefront. I think he didn't want to do Etsy. Josh, you probably know this. He didn't want to do an Etsy store because it kept kind of getting like flagged and shut down. So he's going to do like a proper storefront soon enough, and sort of make it so that if you're not at cons, which is typically where he sells, you'll still be able to get the signs. So and Ross says you'll need a Cyberzoic one in March. I'm already asking about a Cyberzoic one. I need a Plunderlings one too, so I'm gonna need a Cyberzoic one as well. What's going on, Nolan? Good to have you, buddy. I definitely want a Cyberzoic one. I think I might reach out to you, Ross, to get the logo. I might be the middleman between you guys and D Blake Makes to make one of these things, because they're great. Like the AWOC one was sort of the first one that I wanted, but just got it at this convention. The first one that I actually got was an Alpha Flight one, believe it or not. And this X-Men one right up here. But yeah, the AWOC one is great. I got a G.I. Joe and a Cobra. I got the Dragon Ball Z one, which is great. Yeah. Christopher Bouchard says AWOC has become my new favorite line and can't wait to get the 4 lizards and the Raving soon. The lizards will probably be summer 2025, and then raving. If we're lucky, if everything sort of lines up and there's no delays between now and then, we might still see raving by the end of the year. Fingers crossed. Or of 2025, not 2020, not the end of this year. Yikes! No. Oh, she's such a joker. No, that was not the one. Josh Brown says, "Did you all keep the heads I left on your table? I was hoping you did, but I also found a bag of loose heads when unpacking. I think Jason took most of them, which is for the best because he's the best painter. So we'll let him paint them up, and then we'll go from there." Ross says, "I'll send the PNG." Perfect. I'll make sure that he gets it and gets going on that. Yeah, so there you go. Josh Brown says D Blake is setting up a Shopify store soon. As soon as he does, I will definitely share that link with everybody. So very, very exciting for people to get them and just sort of order them as normal. Up until now, it's sort of like you had to reach out to him or see him at a con or what have you. So Brick says to Amanda, "I think it's awesome that you're so supportive about buying a dragon. Thank you in advance for talking to Joanna." Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, once I convince her, I'll get her in touch with Joanna to sort out the details of your dragon purchasing. You got lots of room, Brick. You could put it in your classroom. It'll be a talking point. You guys, you could talk about mythology, right? I'm not sure she's gonna go for that, Brick, but it was worth a shot. All right, so before I wrap up, and it's early, so you got plenty of time before you gotta go jump onto Brick Something's channel for the news, and then jump onto Yimbo, and then jump onto Geek Dad Life for sort of the rest of your Sunday YouTube journey. I'm gonna show a couple more shots of the just the grayscale 3D printed zombies from Mars because we had them on the table, but then I got home and took some pictures of them, so I'm gonna share those with you guys. And if you have any questions about zombies, feel free to ask them now. We are sort of now able to answer more of the questions. We're sort of moving forward. There's going to be more news. I've sent email to a couple toy tube people that might get the word out there a little bit. And we've got some cool things planned. So more on that as the details sort of develop. But Speaking Moistly said the dragon is cool, but it's really big and it should say you should have this should say it's really big and really expensive because I think regardless of whether it's a great price or a good price, it's still not going to be cheap. It's going to be really expensive. Russ asks, did they reveal a price for the dragon yet? They did not. I believe the pre-order window kind of Kickstarter crowdfund launches in January, so I think we will probably. I suspect we won't see the price until after they sort of get through pre-orders for the wave that they revealed at G-Con. Josh Brown says no exact price, but we did get Jeremy to say nowhere near 650. I think Jeremy has said. I think the closest, or like the lowest number, and again, this is all hearsay because I keep hearing different numbers from different people. People put in chat like, "Oh, Jeremy said this" or "Jeremy said that." So don't quote me. This is just what I've heard. Actually, I'll take Trevor's as just because of his sort of proximity to the Four Horsemen. Jeremy said, oh yeah, and then he corrected it. So yeah, Jeremy has said more than 200 and less than 650. I also heard somebody say that somebody said 450 and Jeremy said less than we hope it'll be less than that. So I'm sort of looking at 450 as like the sort of threshold price. assuming, what that person heard was what Jeremy did in fact say. But there's also the accessory set, and they've also said that, look, you're gonna want the accessory set too, right? So you're gonna get the extra wings, the fire effect, the alternate head. The bigger, wider, broader wings look, in my opinion, way better than the smaller wings. If you're gonna buy the dragon, you're gonna want those wings. That's all I'm saying. Ross, you're way over. You're way over from what from sort of what I've heard and what has been said. So Nolan saying, I'm thinking 650 Canadian with shipping and tax. Speaking moistly says 300 would be a good price. 300 would be a great price, I think. Having seen it, 300 would be incredible. And Brick says, are those the numbers for the base dragon and accessory pack? I don't think they are. I think that's the base dragon pack. And Brick says, I was in a conversation with Jeremy and that's where I heard him say they're shooting for lower than 450. Rick Jones says 450 plus. Yeah, the shipping. I don't think they're doing $10 flat rate shipping for this dragon. But I don't really want to speculate too much. I will wait until, more details about the dragon come out. I will wait till sort of the pricing comes out and the shipping dates and all that kind of stuff. It looks phenomenal. As I said, if I can get the dragon, I will. But space and money, believe it or not, will play a part in whether or not I get a dragon. All right. You guys want to see some prototype zombie stuff? Here are the just grayscale 3D printed figures that we had at Legions Con. They are posed like this. They're just printed this way. They're not articulated at all. The arms and legs come off. The heads come off. So, it's intentionally not glued together so that I could pack it up and pack it away and not have it break on me on my way to and on my way from Legions Con. So, like even the hoses, those hoses get plugged in on either end. Let me see if I can. That's about as big as it's gonna get. But yeah, very, very excited about these. You can see the this sort of blood splatter effect. This head will come with one of the characters. So one cool detail that I've mentioned a couple times is that each astronaut will have a different sort of tool, and if we get the right funding, you'll get the tool plus like a zombie gore part that matches the use of that tool, if that makes sense. So if you think about sort of this scenario, you've got this like laser gun or plasma gun or whatever it is, and then you've got this head exploding. So those go hand in hand. So the figure that's going to come with the rifle is going to get that. Another character might have another sort of zombie stopping tool, and then the sort of packing that goes with that will reflect. This is all very vague, but needless to say, it's cool, man. Like some of the little details are really, really cool. The astronauts themselves are amazing. The sculpting is phenomenal, and the figures themselves are going to be cool. As far as the astronaut goes, and I don't know if anybody's really asked about this, but the backpack is obviously removable. This the sort of gear on the chest is removable. The belt will be removable. So the base figure is like the astronaut suit that sort of underneath a whole bunch of gear. It's the same base suit for the zombies as well, but then you're going to have zombie parts that'll be interchangeable. What very few people, if anybody, noticed is that there's actually two separate, chest pieces here. So this is sort of a more modern astronaut suit, and this is sort of like more of like a retro type suit. More details on that, when we start getting into the lore. But yeah, very, very excited to start sharing more details and sort of more of the world building with people. There's a little bit closer, shot of that exploding head part, and that'll be like translucent red. So it's not painted; it's actually translucent plastic there. Um, let's see. The astronauts look so good. I've had them on my desk for about 2 months now. And my only complaint with the astronauts is that I don't have an articulated version of them because I really just want to play with them. I put them off to the side. I'm looking at them right now. But yeah, they're just phenomenal, really, really exciting pieces. And I think, if you're into like classified, you can add some astronauts and add some zombies. If you're just a zombie person, you like zombie figures, there's that. If you don't want the zombie stuff at all, the astronauts, just as a 6-inch astronaut's going to look pretty darn cool too. So, and then I think some of the accessories that we're going to do and stuff, will interest people as well. And then beyond that, there's going to be a soundtrack. So there's going to be a soundtrack and a comic book available. Both will be available digital, but both will also be available in physical copies. So the comic book will be a standard comic book, and the soundtrack will be available on a limited pressed vinyl LP. And when I say limited, I mean, we may offer it again after the Kickstarter in physical form, but it'll probably just be black vinyl. It'll probably be pressed in like colored vinyl. And I'm pushing for like a translucent red vinyl to sort of match the zombie splatter of the red. But we'll see. None of those details are finalized. The record is done. It just has to get mastered. The record itself is like a soundscape for the line. So it's gonna be pretty fun. Full on LP 12-inch. Yes. I think it's 10 tracks. Nolan says they look good, especially once all painted. Yes, all painted, they look phenomenal. We're holding back on some of the full colored renders. But we have all the renders for all the figures. But yeah, we're very, very excited. And like I said, March 1st, 2025 for the Kickstarter. So very excited about that. Collecting Brothers says looks kind of like a pulse rifle. Yeah, I mean that's it's meant to be sort of a sci-fi type thing. The world is going to be the universe that this sort of takes place in is going to be immediately familiar, but it's sort of like through the lens of like 1960s and 70s sci-fi and how they saw the future, how they thought the future was going to be. So there's going to be like elements of 60s and 70s sci-fi that sort of is in our modern world. That makes sense. It'll make more sense, when we get into the lore a little bit more. But yeah, very, very excited. Ray Paz says Oni prototype, please. Man, if I was allowed to show it, I would. But I'm not allowed to show it yet. Dan has explicitly told me that when it's ready to be shown, I'll be allowed to show it, but I can't show it yet. The Oni looks phenomenal. It looks so good. And like I said, there's at least 2 of them planned, probably more. So stay tuned for more Bushido news. Not today, but soon. Speaking Moistly says cool 60s aesthetic, kind of like Fallout is 50s. Yeah, so Fallout is kind of Fallout's a pretty good example, of sort of how it's going to work. Like it's going to have modern stuff, but it's also going to sort of feel like it's through a slightly distorted lens. So I'm very, very excited about it. Let me just. Was there anything else that I had intended to share? No, I don't think there was. I think that's good. I think that's everything that I had planned. It was in no way the order that I had planned it. It was in no way in any order. So thank you for bearing with me and tolerating me rambling for an hour and a half about Legions Con. But if you want, I mean, I suspect, if you want more Legions Con retrospective, Brick's probably going to be talking about it, and he's probably going to be way more organized. He'll have his bullet points later today over on Brick something. So tune in for that. Always fun show over there, and always always going to be a good show when Brick is doing it, because he's way more organized than I am. You should see my desk right now. It is a mess. Anyways, it's been an absolute pleasure, and it's good to be back. It's good to be home. I got to get back to work. I got some Spiro stuff I got to work on. I've got a business meeting with Arlen and Ira this evening as well. So more details coming up. Until next time, bye bye.